Howdy my peeps and welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a mixed media illustration, which to be completely honest I stopped doing for a while for some strange unexplainable reason. But before we get into that, I'd like to give a shout out to Baby Dragon Inc., who is the comment of the week. Thank you so much for your comment. I really like reading you all's comments, and if you'd like to be the comment of the week, all you have to do is comment on any video. That could have been you. Oh my goodness. I'm also on Patreon, and I also have an Etsy shop, and it's actually the day that I opened it at the time of me recording this, and I'm like kind of hype, not gonna lie, and I kind of need to calm down. And I also had my first sale, and I'm super excited and wild. So like if you want prints from me, you can head over there, and there's actually going to be a little freebie in those orders. So you can get that if you like. But anyways, so the whole reason behind this drawing that you're seeing here is that Copic is having an art supply challenge. That was wrong. An art contest. I don't know why whenever I go to say that, I say it wrong. It's an art contest, not an art supply challenge. You see where my brain is. Anyways, so they're having a contest, and I saw that the prizes included markers, and if you have been subscribed for a little while, not even that long, just a little while, you'll know that I love Copics. I love them so much, and you know what? I want more. And you know, Copic, they have so many markers, over 300 colors, and I want all of them, and that's one of the prizes. So I decided to, how do they say that? Is it called throw your hat in the ring? Is that how that saying goes? I don't know, but you know what I mean. I decided to participate, and before I do my final drawing, I wanted to do some practice runs, because one of the by the way, I'm going to put a link to it in the description if you're interested in entering yourself. But anyways, one of the criteria for your piece is that it has to be made with mostly Copic products, which is understandable. It's a Copic art contest, so of course they want you to use their supplies. And I've run into, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it run into a problem. It's mostly just me trying to figure out how I can use watercolors and Copics but still make it a mostly Copic illustration. You know, because normally whenever I use Copics with watercolors, I use the Copics to enhance the watercolors. But now I'm going to be doing the exact opposite and using the watercolors to enhance the Copics. Oh my goodness. And I actually tried it. This was my second attempt actually. The first attempt I didn't like it, and I was feeling a little discouraged, not gonna lie, because I was like, this is not what I'm going for at all. The colors were too vibrant, and it just didn't look like my style color wise, and I was like, that will not do, chief. So I decided to try again, and I'm glad I did, because this one ended up turning out a lot better than the first one. The colors are a lot more muted, which works better for my style, I feel, because the scene that I'm going to be drawing for the main piece is going to be like outdoors, and I don't want super greens in that illustration. I want kind of some muted yellowish green colors. And for that first illustration that I tried, which I may upload that on Patreon as a speed painting, so if you're interested in that, you can know it over there. But anyways, in that one, the greens were like, they were too much. It was very green, and the characters kind of didn't fit in the illustration. Like, it just kind of looked like they were just there, and the colors, they weren't working for me. So what I did the first time, and also what I did this time, was I did a bunch of washes. However, with the first try, I was still kind of leaning more towards the way I normally work whenever I do Copic and watercolor illustrations. Which, like I said, that's when the Copics enhance the watercolors. So I was doing a lot of watercolor stuff. And for this one, I was like, no fam, we're not doing that. I thought we talked about this. So I kind of use the watercolors the way you would use layer modes in a digital program, which, if you don't know anything about that, basically how that works is you can, for example, select the color pink, and then you can choose different modes. Sorry. you can choose different settings for that layer with that color on it and get different effects to kind of help unify the piece. So for example, like I said, you choose pink, and then what I like to do is I use luminosity and shade, and then you lower the opacity of that until you get something that looks how you want it, and it kind of just adds that color to the entire illustration or to the spots where you want it, and it kind of helps unify the piece. So I was like, I'm gonna take that same principle, that same logic, and I'm gonna use it here, except for this illustration where I want things to be green, I'm gonna use a light green. Where for his face I use a really diluted version of the color that I normally use for skin when I'm watercoloring, when I'm painting this character. I think it's like burnt sienna or something like that, and then like some, I think it's called light red on his cheeks. Another thing about it, I forgot to write down the colors that I use for this, which normally I put my, well, I always put my supplies in the description so you can check that out and see what I use. But I also like to put the colors that I use, and I just realized I forgot to write those down, so I'm gonna have to guess on that one, so I'm sorry. But where was I going with that? Yeah, so one of the main things I was struggling with was, like I said, I felt a lot of the colors were too saturated, too bright. So for example, for his shirt, I went over it with a grayish color, and my logic behind this is, by putting down this grayish color, when I went over it with my Copic, which is a lot more vibrant, that the gray color would kind of mute it a little bit, and fam, praise be to the Lord, I was right. So I'm glad I did that, and I'm glad that I know I can do that for the finished, well, the actual illustration that I'll be submitting to Copic, because oh boy, I was concerned for a moment there, because I mean, I guess just this whole experimentation period, I don't know if that was the right word I was looking for there, but you know what I mean. This moment in time where I'm experimenting with this, it has kind of had me look back at the colors that I own in Copic markers. I can't speak right now, but you know what I mean. Just look at the colors that I have, and also the colors that I would like to purchase in the future, perhaps, to see what it is that I actually use, because a lot of these Copics, I bought these years ago, like back in like 2017, and they're still kicking. Oh my gosh, they're still going. Anyways, and I actually need to get I need some refills, because they are going, but they're starting to slow down, and that's not Copic's fault, that's my fault. I just haven't purchased refills yet. But anyways, you know, back then, those colors, you know, seemed to work fine with me. But I seem to be, I don't know, I still use very vibrant colors, I feel. And like, if you look at a lot of my artwork, like, the colors are pretty vibrant and saturated and stuff. But I guess maybe the colors that I chose were too vibrant. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, bottom line, I have a better idea of what colors I should go after next time. I should go for more muted colors, because the vibrant colors, they have their time, they have their place, and their place just so happened to not be for what I'm going for at the moment. This is it, my peeps. This is the part, oh my goodness, when my experimentation, it paid off. Well, amazing. Also, another thing I was doing, which you've already seen it, but I'll explain it now, is I was also using that green color of the background to color the edges of the character. And my logic behind this is similar to the logic that I used for the washes, which is, when I'm working digitally, I will, you know, sometimes include, well, normally I'll include background colors or like a unifying color in layer modes, like I mentioned earlier, or I'll use a luminosity layer for like highlights, or I'll use an overlay layer with the predominant background color, and I'll fill in the character, and I'll adjust the opacity, adjust the layer modes until I get something that kind of makes the character look like they're a part of the environment. And I was trying to think, how could I do that with my watercolor things? Well, I guess this isn't completely watercolor. You know what I mean. And I was like, let me include that background color along the outer edges of the character, and my goodness. Wow. Who knew that that's what I needed this whole time? Wow. I actually tried that in the first illustration, but I used the wrong colors. Like I said, they were much too vibrant, so when I went to color, it was like, oh, what are you doing? And it was like, oh, nothing. And anyways, that was not the right sentence to use just then, but you know what I mean. Or at least I hope you know what I mean. I really do. But anyways, that really helped to kind of unify the piece and to make Lentz look like he's not just copied and pasted on here. He actually looks like he's out there in the garden doing whatever he's doing, which I guess gardening. That's what you do in the garden. And for the coloring the background, I have these yellow leaning greens that are kind of desaturated, and I was like, perfect, this is just what I need. So that's what I use for coloring the leaves. And for the sky, I do not have a light color that matches that. Which is the only problem that I ever run into when I'm working with watercolors with Copics, is if I try to use a Copic marker to enhance the watercolors, or in this case use the watercolors to enhance the Copics, I have to make sure I'm using colors that are very similar, otherwise it won't blend as well. I feel like for the background, the difference in color, because the Copic colors that I used were more warm than the colors that I put down. The colors I put down were more cool. However, since it's like foliage, that works. But for the sky, you kind of want that to be just a little more even, especially since I wasn't really going for the gradient look. So, I ended up just leaving that blank. And by blank, I mean just the watercolor washes there, because there was nothing I could do to help it. I couldn't add Copics there. Actually, I tried a little patch in the corner, and the one marker that I did find that could work was teetering on the edge of goodbye, I'm gone, see you later, it's been nice. And so I decided I'm going to reserve that for the actual illustration that I'll be submitting, because that bad boy is almost on its last leg. So we are nearing the end here, my peeps, and I must say I had a lot of fun working on this illustration, and I was, like I said, feeling kind of, what was the word I used? What is the word for it? I can't remember. Discouraged, that's what it is. Oh my goodness. I was feeling a little discouraged after I finished that last one. I was like, oof, this does not look that nice. But this one kind of gave me back my confidence. Thank you, give it back. Thank you. And I really like how it turned out, and part of me wishes that this was the finished illustration. However, it's a little too small for what I would like to submit, so that does create a little problem, and it'd be like that sometimes. But if you would like to see the line art for that, the one that I'll be submitting to Copic, it's up on my Instagram. It's in a reel format, so you can go check that out if you like. But anyways, this is how the illustration turned out. I hope you liked it, and I hope you liked this video. Shout out to my patrons, Turtle Bun Buns, Ariana, Kelsey, Sister Donna 55, and Zachary. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you and everything that you do. I'm also on Ko-fi and Instagram and Artful and TikTok, and I also have an Etsy shop. So if you'd like to check those out, you can. Links are in the description. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please enjoy the rest of your day, my peeps.